adoption is a ginormous emotion that is shared by everyone in this whole journey. More often than not, we speak about adoption in the context of prospective parents, parents who have adopted, their journey, their emotional dilemmas that they have faced, how did they react and respond, etc., etc. And that's been like the crux of the conversations that we at Pragnaa have constantly had over the last few months that we've been conducting these monthly panel discussions. But what about the journey of an adoptive child? In recent years, we've been coming across a lot of adoptive parents who have had candid conversations, and who continue to engage in candid conversations about adoption with their children. They're not only normalizing the concept of adoption at the family level, but are also making like a lot of strident efforts to normalize the whole concept at the social level, because adoption is not something that is new or different from our culture and our tradition. It's always been there. But that's when it brings us to the question of why is there a slight stigma or a slight discomfort that's associated with this whole concept. But more importantly, what we at Pragnaa want to look at is, how do the children feel about this? How do our adoptees feel about this? How do they comprehend the concept of being a heart baby? And did they feel any emotional roadblocks? How easy were these conversations that they had with their families? We will be talking about these and much, much more today with three very wonderful ladies that we have with us. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's panel discussion with Pragnaa. Joining us on the panel are two beautiful young ladies and adoptees, Amisha and Sahana, and an adoptive parent, Dr. Shatabdi Das. She may be at the wonderful age of 18 years, but speak to her and you will realize the depth of her thinking. Meet Amisha, a student at Narsi Monjee Institute of Management Studies in Mumbai. Amisha is currently interning at WAIC, and she is also a child rights and welfare enthusiast. Welcome, Amisha, to today's panel discussion with Pragnaa.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming over. Sahana is the second of three siblings, and she is a digital marketing professional who is preparing for her master's program while she spreads her love for animals. She is a pet parent to a dog, and she lives with her parents and grandmother in Kolkata. Welcome, Sahana, to today's session.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you. And we also have with us a very eminent person on the panel today, Dr. Shatabdi Das. She is an adoptive parent, a doctor of philosophy in zoology. Dr. Shatabdi is, as I've just mentioned now, the heart mother to a 20-year-old, I suppose. Dr. Shatabdi, did I get that right?
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. And she is the principal scientist in West Bengal University of Animal and Fishery Sciences in Kolkata. And she's also part of a movement to propagate the popularity of science in vernacular languages. She is also the executive committee member of Bangya Vignan Parishad, founded by Acharya Satyendranath Bose. So welcome, Dr. Shatabdi Das, to today's panel discussion. Yeah, and before we begin, I would like to thank our media partners, iAsiaNewsMusic, for their continuous support and for broadcasting today's panel discussion live across their Facebook and YouTube channels to about 170 plus countries. Shout out to the CEO and head of iAsiaNewsMusic at their headquarters in Dallas, Texas, Dr. Krishna Puttaparthi, and to Anu Benakati, who is the COO of iAsia News channel, and to the dynamic team in Bangalore, the COO Vidya Sagar, Head of Creative Design and Technical Jayant, Head of Public Relations Vinuta Jayant, along with Kishore Bhatia from Dubai, and Social Media Manager Anindita. iAsiaNewsMusic, as I said, showcases its programs to 170 plus countries and has a viewership of over 10,000 audience. And I would recommend that you visit their website, www.iasianews.net, for all the current shows and exciting promos that they have. So to begin today's discussion, Amisha and Sahana, I'm going to keep this as an open question for both of you. When was the first time that you had like a very serious conversation with your parents or your siblings about your adoption, and how did it go?
You want to go for Sahana? No, you can go ahead and okay, sure. I was looking at the age for almost 2.5, 3. So it was a vaguely known activity that I was doing. My parents had a bit of a fight about it. And I'm sure developing is not like the germ adoption. Telling me they just told me that people to adopt. Like the Lord Krishna story and likewise. But obviously at that age, I don't know how much I actually processed and understood about what it really was. So the first official time I remember being told about my adoption by my mom was when I was 9 years old. I think I was in the 5th grade. And there were a lot of hugs and tears, and it was a bittersweet experience, but it was genuinely a beautiful moment.
What kind of questions did you have? What was going on in mind at that point in time when you actually had this heart-to-heart conversation?
So, I had questions about what and where I did, because I was only 9 years old. I didn't really understand too much, but where my from, when did this happen, how did you get me, so those kind of questions.
And what do you remember the conversation? What did your mom say to you? And how did you process?
So let me learn this story. It's like we kind of a really family. So she told me that like she was staying on the family, right? So it was kind of like it was an association. It was kind of normalized for me. Like it happened. And then she gave me a few more what adopted music and things of that. It was like I'm not alone with that very common thing that sounds introduced to me.
Great.
That makes sense.
Great. What about you, Ahana? How has the experience been, for you?
So I haven't had any such conversation. Like we didn't sit down and have the conversation. So since I was really small, like I didn't have any understanding like things like good and right. So at that point of time, I really introduced the concept of adoption through stories. So little I got a overview and I understood what had happened. So with age and everything, it was easier for me to accept the whole thing. And when I grew up, also my mother would make me do missionaries of charity, and then I would meet my sisters, and my mother showed me that I was there, and everything was very open and transparent. So it was easy for me to understand and process the whole thing.
So, at what age did you start going in over there to the, missionaries of charity, and how has your interaction been? Like, do you remember any snatches of the conversations that you've had with probably the sisters over there, or, any questions that probably did crop up? I know it's been a long time, but any recollection of the conversations that you've had?
I had since I was like really small, like childhood.
Okay.
So there are like really big you all the places you want to play with them and play with the children. So I never had any question as such. So it was the normal outing I had when time was spent with them.
Okay. So, one thing's very clear from, what both of you all have said is that it's very important to have these open and candid conversations. So that comes to my next question. So Anna, you are a single child, but Amisha, you are the second of 3 siblings, and you have 5 siblings, right? Has there been any kind of a very awkward or a weird moment where people in the family, outside anywhere, within the society have kind of commented or spoken behind the back or whatever, or you've heard snatches of conversation saying, oh, she's been adopted and things like that?
So, not that I don't know, but I never tell my parents. I think it was a very smooth with my family and my siblings really well, and nothing that I know of. I think it was really easy for me. You can understand.
Great. Yeah. So there is, because as adoptive parents, we do come across this thing where people come and tell us, oh my God, you've done such a great thing. And, we wanted to adopt, but we could never do it. And, but for people like us, where we done it because we have a very normal way to grow your family, right? It becomes very awkward for us, or maybe because we're like, old enough and we understand society and we have our own, ways of thinking, that we look at such conversations in a different way. That's was this experience where someone said, oh, you've done such a great thing, and we've never been able to do it, though we want to. And how have you fielded those questions and reacted?
In our family, everybody was very much supportive for our decision, and our friends circle also, they are very much supportive. They took it very naturally, and I have not faced this type of question so far.
That's very heartening to know. So now, Amisha, growing up, this is a bit of a very important question, especially for a lot of new adoptive parents who have this kind of underlying fear within them, with regard to their children. So, growing up, did you ever feel that your life would have been different if you were not adopted?
I think that's a very normal question as a topic now, because it's like human nature to keep questioning the situation, you have choices like my fact study, So I think it's yeah, of course I've answered the question, and I think coping mechanism that all kids use. And I think it's a little easier for adoptive children to use at that age, because you kind of think of, oh, maybe my life would have been better, especially when my biological parents would have never done that to me. So it's a coping mechanism that you develop. Once, like with age, when you mature, you realize that, that's completely wrong, and you grow out of it in a way. So I'm sure I've obviously asked myself that question, and honestly, now every time I think about it, just makes me more grateful for being adopted, because now I have a permanent, loving family, and of course, a dog that makes up for it. So yeah.
Great. What about you, how has it been?
So for me, it has been very different. Like I have never said that I am special or suffering than different children. Like sexual sexuality, my friends also. I feel I was completely chilled with everyone. And when I am adopted or something different, or I should do something differently or feel differently. And friend circle and school circle never made me feel in such a way also. So in that way, I think it has been very smooth for me, and I never consider myself different also. We are all the same at the end.
Right. So I think just to add on to this, Amisha, probably you and Dr. Shatabdi can go for this. So I'm the parent to an adopted child and a bio child, and my adopted one is like she's the younger one. She's 3.5, and as all today's parents, we are also like very open about it. We do tell her stories about Krishna, and of course as well. And there's this concept, baby and a heart baby. And now the questions have started coming in. So she asks, and like a neighbor of mine who was pregnant, and my sister who's pregnant, and then she's like, so which tummy did I come from? Did you have these kind of questions while you were growing up?
I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did. I had this like I would talk to my mother, like I would talk to my mother. And I asked like you want to eat something. So I remember this was before 30 years. I was like 30 years. Of course I had these questions. No, of course I had these questions. But I dealt with it really well.
So, do you remember what kind of answers they gave you at the time? Any idea?
Not so. I am not born in Kolkata. My brother was born in California. My sister was here. But the fact I never really had family. So at that time, my mama we had work and all that. And then she was a undoubtedly for me.
Okay. What about you, Ahana? Any such questions that you had growing up?
Not any question. Not any like. But yes, when I was young, my mother was sick. So someone called out. Like she looks right on the So at that time, I was So that was a very
Okay. Right. Dr. Shatabdi, have you as a parent faced this question from your son? And, if yes, how have you dealt with it?
Wanted to have little one in our family like you. Then we went to home where there were tiny babies like you, and you were for me. Only you were ready for me, only for us. And then they gave us, they gave us, and you, and we took you in our home. And from then you were with us, and that is all. Nothing is nothing more natural phenomena in our society. And as he was too tiny that time, he understood it. He realized its fact in his own way. How he realized that we, I don't know, but he realized the fact. It is all.
That's wonderful. I mean, and these small things. While we
Saying these things, he didn't make any question further. He didn't ask me anything till now. He always tell that you are my all. He always tell this.
that's very heartening, and it kind of underlying fears that are there, and these are all like generated, fears that everybody has. I mean, be it a child, be it a parent, because everybody's kind of going through this process, and there are questions that are left unanswered. And I think a good thing about platforms, like Pragnaa or Atmaja, is that people can actually go ahead and openly talk about them, and they have experiences coming their way. So when stories are shared, when people share their experiences, experiences across situations, because not everybody goes through situations, but nobody has that unique thing of going. Somebody might have gone through a similar, phase, as someone else, and this kind of sharing, this kind of, understanding and conversations are what kind of people come out of they're worried about whether they will be able to handle a situation, whether they will be able to have a conversation, whether there are solutions out there. And then that is, I think, one of the greatest steps that we together as, heart families can make adoption all the more normalized. It's very normal. It's got a certain level of social stigma around it, or a little bit of discomfort around it, and that's what we're trying to quell. So, coming back to our discussion, Dr. Shatabdi, again, a question for you. We found that many new adoptive parents, especially those who reach out to us at Pragnaa for guidance, from the bottom of their heart, they want to speak about it openly. And this is not just, about first-time parents, but it's also about parents from mixed families where they already have like a bio child as well. And they are trying to make a lot of effort to speak about adoption. Does a parent face this anytime? And, if you have, how have you kind of dealt with it?
This type of problem, because I have already told that in our family everybody was very much supportive. In fact, they told us to make the decision for adoption. This was first told by my mother-in-law and my mother also. So everybody was very much supportive, and my son problem in any family gathering or any other he is adopted or he is somebody different from the other children of our family. We never faced this type of problems, and also we have never faced any problem, this type of problem in family or in our close friends circle. We didn't have any problem.
That's
Very much. Everybody is very much supportive.
that's heartening to know. So, Amisha, Anna, open question to both of you again. According to you, from an adoptee perspective, how do you think adoption can be normal?
You want me to go?
Yes, please.
So I think adoption should be treated as just another way of having a baby. Like, let's be honest, nothing prepares you for raising even a biological child. And also there may be the fact that parenting an adopted child might be a little here. At the end of the day, it's just a child. So I think there's a lot of taboo around the topic, even among parents, and they want to keep it a secret from their child. So my opinion is that adoption is the most beautiful thing. Adopted or are adopted, then own it. All it comes down to is talking openly about it. Because if you're not comfortable with it, no one else around you will be. So first learn to accept it yourself, and then help your child accept it, and then talk about it with your children like any other topic you would talk about, and encourage others who want to adopt.
No, great. I completely agree with you. What about you, Ahana? What do you have to say?
So across the state, we adopt and parents also place the statement that my child is adopted or I am adopted. We talk to someone or we introduce ourselves. We ask them to do that. Many people do. So I got to think two bilateral. There is some of this instance. I am a pilot. I don't think so. We do it. Is it necessary? Is it something very different that we need to state as our identity? I don't think so. Like we are normal like everyone else. Why should that be part of our identity or when we're introducing ourselves? I don't think so. It starts from the roots actually. And as Anisha also said, like parents themselves need to be accepting and open about parents. I have also come across who hide the fact from their children and are ashamed of it. And I just can't understand why. Why would you take that step if you yourself are so shy and closed about it? You need to be accepting to let others accept your child.
Just to add to this, Sahana, so probably this, and this is from the conversations that we've had with a lot of adoptive parents, right? This could also be stem from the fact that they're making an effort to normalize it, and over a period of time, they feel that the more we talk about it, the more normalized it becomes. But it's good to hear, I agree that after a point in time, sometimes it can become a little overwhelming. It can, lead to a conversation as to why do you have to say that I am adopted. Maybe they need to be about the fact that the child might like being, called out as being adopted or being special at every given point in time. So yes, a very important note for a lot of adoptive parents out there. It's good to talk about the fact that you are an adoptive parent, you've adopted a child, and you've grown your family in a very different way. But understand that there's a certain limit to how much you need to talk about this. And later, after you do your initial set of normalization, let it be. Let life just move on the way it should ideally be, even when you are with your biological child. And as Sahana mentioned, you don't necessarily go about saying, "Oh, I've given birth to this child and I've adopted this child." You don't do that, or either you do both, and just normalize the host that this is how our family is. So a great point, Hannah. In fact, I see a lot of comments coming in from our audience on social media, and there's a lot of kudos going out to both of you on bringing out, what is your take on the whole concept of adoption, and how do we need to, normalize this. Tapas Das, um, we have, Tapas Das says that everybody must benefit as a child, and any child, parents do get attached to them, and that's the most beautiful, emotion that is there. And the Gangana says, again, Ahana, she says, kudos to you for bringing up such a beautiful point. So coming back to our discussion, Amisha and Ahana, again, there are a lot of adoptive children who do try to look for their birth mothers, and it is legal in India. After you hit 18 years, you are allowed to go back and look for your biological roots. But unfortunately, in India, still adoption is a very closed affair. It's not an open, engagement that is there. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so I have a lot to say about this, so bear with me. But I think that I think it's sucks. I think everyone has a right to know about everything about them. Developed systems in India have sort of taken away that right. In fact, like just a few years back, there was no Kara, so you could just pick and choose your child. Not exactly, but in a way. And so there was barely any information on the child. But I mean, NGOs are coming up and organizations are coming up to help streamline the process. So hopefully it'll be better for the future. I know there's a fear among parents about this whole biological family connection that the child might die if they ever get to meet them. So disclaimer to put you at ease, your child is not going to pack their suitcase one fine day and leave to live with their bio family. That kind of stuff only happens in super exaggerated ways. For a couple of in their family and is not going to sever the bond you built with them over the years. So maybe this urge to find our bio family isn't us saying we want them and we don't need you or like you anymore, It's just us saying we want to know the truth about us, which I think is a fair ask. So you must realize that this overwhelming desire may only last for a few years. And like maybe when I'm sitting giving another talk 20 years down the line, it may not even matter to me half as much as it might have mattered to me earlier. So as a parent, embrace the process. Don't fear it. What is important for you as a parent is to facilitate your child with whatever is in your power to help them during the stage, because somewhere your child may be a little lost, and a few years down the line we go a long way and only strengthen the relationship with them. But of course, that's my opinion.
No, great points shared there. What about you, Ahana? What do you think?
So whole situation on adoptees trying to find their biological parents and our system is actually very heartbreaking. And I think this comes down to our basic human rights or rights, that our right to know where we came from, whom we came from, whom. It just comes down to our basic rights, I think. And it is not because, as Amisha said, that we want to build a better life or just run away or something like that. It is basically to help us understand ourselves better, I think, and to find our roots somewhere. To just find the connection or to just feel that they exist or they don't exist, or just curiosity, basic curiosity. So it comes down to our basic rights, that we should have the right to know or get information regarding our parents or yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that said, I have a bit of what do you say, information to share, or a story to share. So and this is again from the experience that we have had as counselors, or be not, I wouldn't say official counselors, but as a support group, and we keep meeting with a lot of adoptive parents and adoptive children. So I, for one, am totally open, for adoption. So tomorrow, if my wife can trace her biological roots, I think I would be the first one to go all out and help her, because it's like you said, I believe it's her birthright to know, about her own life, the reality of her life. And open adoptions definitely are welcome move forward. If you with many adoptive parents that I've spoken to, they're quite uncomfortable about it, and I think that is because of certain instances that have happened. Like Amisha mentioned, so before things were not very, what do you say, streamlined, and I have heard of stories. One of the biological fathers traced back and found his biological daughter, who was adopted, and he's practically kind of latched onto that family, and it's still happening. I'm not kind of going into specifics, but it's happening, and that family is just kind of taking in everything because they feel. So there are such instances also that have happened. So probably these are, some of the underlying fears that are there, because of which people are not really drive open adoptions, at least not from the parents' perspective. But as adoptive children, maybe if a whole, what do you say, a force can be formed, and you do kind of rally for open adoptions, but a lot of legal aspects. Everybody is like emotionally, physically, and is safe. They're all in a safe space. I think it's a fantastic thing to do, because it does give a lot of what do you say, a comfort level for everyone without too much of heartache, because we do come across a lot of adoptees who reach out to us, or who put up posts on social media, especially those who have been outside of India, who say that we want to understand, this is where we were at this home, we were at, so the little bit of information that I was, our mother, was here, she gave birth to me on at so and so hospital, on so and so place by this particular, and they're unable to trace their roots back, and there's a lot of frustration that is pent up within. So I do hope children like you all come together and rally, and absolutely open and a very beautiful experience for everyone. That said, we have a question from one of our, online to us. What was the first reaction or feeling when the news? It's one thing to be spoken about, the concept of adoption being spoken about within the family, but when it actually hit you, what was your reaction at that point in time? Any of
Okay, so like I said, there wasn't a lot of hugs, and yeah, it was a little down moment maybe, but then it was also kind of liberating to know that. I always thought that I was adopted, but there was no surety of it, and I think it was kind of liberating. And then I may have felt sad for like an hour or two, but then I remember going and running and telling my sister, like, "Oh my God, you need to know this about me." So I over it, and the first reaction was obviously after that, which is a cool thing about me.
that's great. What about you, Anna? How's it been? I mean, do you remember? Was there a moment where it really hit you?
There hasn't been any specific moment as such. Another reason I grew up being associated with them since I was really small. So, being a source of adoptive parents and adoptive children since such a small age, and all the process, I guess, had this distinct feeling or question or anything, because I was growing up with that group, this group of adoptive parents and children. So it was very normal for me. I saw another world where people like me also exist. So I thought this is the normal, and it didn't really feel very distinctively different.
I think what you've said, is a very important thing. So again, out to all the adoptive parents over there, please do have, meetings and very casual, get-togethers with a lot of other heart families, because it kind of helps in your quest towards normal, adoption as such, and it even helps children kind of understand that this is nothing different, it's nothing new. Then you don't really have to go about saying she's my adopted child or he's an adopted child or I'm an adoptive parent. I think it becomes so much normal that for everyone it's like, "Haan, theek hai," one was born and one came home from the heart, and that's about it. And it kind of helps them grow into very emotionally strong people as well. They know that it's such a thing, and if they ever need any support, if they need any guidance at any point in time, there's still this group that they can go back to. So please do engage with a support group for parents, for children, and together as a family. We have a question from one of our audience members, Bhagyaman. Do children get scared emotionally about where it would end? As in, do you think? And they're also asking about, whether 18 is a good age emotionally to deal with finding your biological family. So, any thoughts on this? Open to all three of you.
I didn't understand the first one. Do children get scared emotionally?
Like the moment, I think, what do you think that when children kind of get to know that they're adopted, so emotionally, do they believe that, okay, this is the end of it, I'm going to be loved, or I'm always going to be treated differently? So, do you think that has have you at least Ahana? Probably you could answer that. Being a part of a larger group, right? Have you come up with any situation where any of the children have kind of spoken about this, saying that pata nahi kab khadam hoga ye, anything of that sort that's happened?
I have heard of stories and situations where a child did not take the whole news of them very well. They did not accept the fact. They did not react very well to it, and then the whole equation between them and the parents also becomes very it becomes very difficult, because then he questions his parents also, like, why have you, like, if there's another situation, like, if you tell your child about adoption at a later age, or at an age where they understand and already know about things, at that point of time it is for a child to accept it, because at that time the thing that why would you like to go on this? Why didn't you mention this to me before? So the whole trust factor comes into that, and a million other questions. Say, then where did I come from? And every other question, that you don't love me enough or something like that. Many people do not react well to this. I have seen many.
What have you seen as a solution in such situations? Do you think counseling has helped them?
Yes, counseling definitely helps them. Not only them, they need to work along with their parents, because it is the whole family involved in the situation together. It is not just the child who is, it is their parents also, because they are a part of it. The whole family together needs to work their way through this whole situation. Otherwise, the whole emotion keeps growing and getting worse.
Great. Thanks for sharing this, Sahana. I think it was a very important question. So maybe, while you're here, before we ask Amisha about this, do you think 18 is a good age to deal with these emotions of, wanting to find the birth family?
18 is an age where you say we are an adult, but like, Amisha is very mature. Proper understanding. She has that emotional stability to process this whole thing. Many children who are 18 aren't that stable to process the whole thing, to accept it. So I do not think 18 is the right age for everyone. Just because it states that we are an adult, at that point it is not.
Right. What about you, Amisha? What do you have to say about this?
I think it's for everyone according to the emotional capability. And I think we need a little young, I don't think I have the ability right now. It depends on how your child has responded over the years to various. If you told them about adoption, you can make a call according to that.
Absolutely. Dr. Shatabdi, what about you? What do you believe? Do you think 18 is a good time where children would be emotionally okay to go ahead and find their roots? That needs to be a lot of preparation before they make the decision to start the search.
I think it is very necessary to. It depends on their mental stability. That Ahuna already said that it depends on their mental maturity. I should say, and their mental maturity, and when they realize that it is very necessary to find out the parents, only then she could start this process of knowing their biological parents. But if they don't think that it is necessary, then there is no problem. Now there is no problem. If they don't think that it is necessary to find out their biological parents, they think that it is necessary to find out the biological parents, then they could proceed for this. But it is not only that in the age of 18 they only should start the process. When they feel that this is necessary, then only they can proceed for the process. Of course, it is after 18 years, but not that in after crossing 18 years, immediately after crossing 18 years, they should proceed. That is not necessary. When we feel that this is necessary, only then they could proceed for this.
Absolutely. So, yes,
Add on to that.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think at any stage in life,
at any stage in life,
it, there will always be that fear factor or that something that always maybe make you scared. So I don't think there's a pinpointed right age that you can say, okay, now, yeah, that's all right.
Absolutely. So, as you all three mentioned, there's a certain level of emotional maturity that is required, from the child as well, when before they begin their search for their, biological family or any family member. They also need to be cognizant of the fact that there might have been a reason why, even the parent or the mother might have kind of given up the child. Probably it could be cases like, unmet mothers, and now they have a family and they don't want that disrupted. You could as a selfish motive, but I think it's just self-preservation that they're looking at. And this is just one of many situations that are possibly there. So yes, there is a lot of emotional maturity that is required, a lot of empathy that is required. So, if any of y'all out are intending, to begin your search, family, prospective, or your parents who are watching the show today, and your children are probably at the verge of, beginning this conversation of wanting to meet their families, have a support group place. You'll, as a family, the way Hannah suggested, meet with a counselor, have like an open heart-to-heart conversation, discuss the entire search. You may or may be successful in this, like the way Dr. Shatabdi mentioned, but be prepared for whatever is the outcome. Probably you're like super excited and you do get to, trace back the family. But if your birth parent is not happy seeing you for whatever reasons, they might be worried about their own existence, what might happen to them with their current life right now. Be aware of the fact that they're also emotionally traumatized. It wouldn't have been easy, to give up a child. I mean, it's never easy to give up a child, and it's a very difficult decision. So, understand all of that. Let's look at this whole quest. With empathy or of emotional maturity, as all our panelists mentioned today. Before you begin your search, or if you are in your search as well, just ensure that you reach that stage of maturity while you're in your quest. So, wonderful comments coming in. Saskar says, it's really wonderful to see our children are so confident in taking over our job. Thanks, Ahana and Amisha. And takeoff, as always, beautiful for those who are flying and also for those who are watching the takeoff. It's time that we hand over our baton. You all are so much ready. Wonderful. So it's wonderful. Thank you, Swapan, and wonderful job, Avisha and Ahana. It's really heartening, to see such maturity and such wonderful open conversations that you'll have with, people. So, my question for today again for you all is that what has been the most beautiful experience of your closure process? Any time it can be, because there are different questions that pop up at different ages. You might have had certain questions when you were 3, and probably different questions when you were different when you were 12. So at every given stage, among all of these, has there been like one very memorable, very beautiful moment that you still cherish the process?
I mean, but I don't know about disclosure as such, but just meeting other kids, I think it's just really really sweet for me. Like I remember this one girl. I know them as family friends, and she was from the same shelter as I was. So just when she came home, it was I just felt like an instant connection, and it was just really beautiful for me. I don't know if that's
No. It's your experience. So whatever you shared, I mean, we can feel the emotion. I think that's the small moments make a huge difference as well. What about you, Ahana?
Yeah, exactly. I found a lot of joy and a lot of happiness knowing when I adoptive children in school. When I figured out that few of my classmates were adopted too, or my seniors, or this group of Atmaja when I met everyone, and how close I became with all of them. Like that whole connection of just being adopted just works somehow between two people, and then you click off, and then you become real good friends. So I guess that is a really beautiful journey, and that's really nice.
Great. What about you, Dr. Shatabdi? As a parent, what's been the most beautiful experience that you have had, during disclosure phase?
You told earlier that we started the process of disclosure that when my son was only 3 to 4 years old. So he was not in the age to understand the biological process or anything. But he realized the fact in his own way. How he realized that I didn't know, but he realized somehow the fact. And, he he realized the fact, and the main thing, natural has been formed between our child and us. That is the main thing, and this was the cause of happiness in our life, in our family, and it was the most happy moment and happy event in our life so far. And that is the thing I should say. There is nothing like that. That is in one fine morning we realize the fact, and we are very much happy that he has realized. That is not like that, but in course of time, and he was said that you are my mom, and I am your child. That is the only truth. And this it should be based on the truth. I think the relationship between the child and the parents, that should be based on the truth, and it will become a part of our life. And he has realized that is the main thing that he has realized. Somehow he has realized, and I think moment.
Very, very important point that you said. So the relationship altogether has to be based on the truth, and I think that is irrespective of how you grow your family or how you have the relationship should be absolutely truthful in any given point in time. That said, we have a compliment for both of you, Amisha and Ahana, from Smriti Gupta, who says, very nice to hear your perspective. And she thanks you. We have a question from Manjari Ghosh. I think, Ahana, this is probably directed towards you. They're asking, is it important to take the child to visit his or her first home? And does this have to be done through their growing up period?
Okay, so it is not completely necessary or important. It is completely your decision. What I gained out of this in the home, it helped me understand better the whole process. It helped me from where I came to accept it. The acceptance part was much more easier for me to see my bed, to see the sisters who took care of me, to see So it helped me to accept the process more.
As a follow-up, as a follow-up to that, what do you think is the right way to start taking the child back, to their home if there are parents who are considering that?
I think from a young age, since there are more children, orphans who are there very young, and they go and interact with them. You are allowed to do that. So once you go and interact with them, also you find a connection and you start talking. You understand things better also. And at that, when you are younger, you have a tendency to accept things more easily and try not to question them too much. And you get along with people also much more easy. So at a younger age, I guess if they started, it would be better than suddenly taking them when they are 18 or something and they have their own life. But 18-year-old child wouldn't want to go to a home and sit with other children. They'll be like, I want to go home.
Right. Dr. Shatabdi, as a parent, what do you have to say about this? Do you think it is important?
Couples, they are childless, and day by day the number is increasing. Uh, so they should take the decision about adoption, and it is both a process that parents they will have a kid, and the kids who are orphan, they will get a family, they will get parents, and that is it is a both a process, and it is very I think it is very much healthy process in our society, and this should be more propagated, and this should be more encouraged. The adoptive parents or and the child will get healthy. That is very much necessary for developing a healthy environment, healthy process in our society.
Right. That said, a few more lovely comments coming the way. We have Anhita Nasku says, nice to hear you both, Ahana and Amisha, and she's sending a lots of love to you. And she also says, Shatabdi auntie also said it very well. So, wonderful discussion to, thank you to all of you for this beautiful session today. And we have saying disclosure, a news item, but a gradual, natural flow of information. That said, we are coming to the end of our session for today. Ahana, Amisha, Dr. Shatabdi Das, thank you very much. It was a very enlightening discussion, and I think a very pertinent and very important topic where we did touch upon quite a few points. And you'll share a lot of it. Important is disclosure and how to go about it the right way. And it's good to hear this from the children's perspective rather than the parents' perspective, because parents talk, but when they hear what children have in their mind, it gives them a completely different outlook altogether, because now they're sitting in the children's shoes and looking at how the whole concept of disclosure is from a child's point of view. So that's a very important thing, and I'm really glad, very thankful to you on behalf of Pragnaa and my team with Sahana as well as the Gangana, that you all agreed to be here, share your thoughts and your perspective with us. Dr. Shatabdi Das, it was wonderful talking to you, and it's always heartening to know that the relationship that you share with your child is so beautiful and so, and as you said, truth, and truth is when truth happens, or truth is what kind of manifests itself when you have a very, very open conversation. So thank you for sharing your perspective with us. Have a lovely weekend, all of you, and hope to panel discussions with you all in the future as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the
Discussion. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Shatabdi. Thank you, Ahana. Thank you, Amisha. Yeah. Have a lovely weekend, everyone, at iAsia News as well as at Pragnaa. Thank you. Can we just have you all on board for a few more moments, please? I'm just adding Sahana back. Yeah. Yeah, Sahana, you were on the audience. What was the reaction? I couldn't monitor all channels. So.
No, it's like I was only working with the restream actually to stream on the YouTube channels. So, and I would like to extend my thanks to Dr. Shatabdi, Ahana, and Amisha for accepting the invitation to be a part of this and enlightening so many other parents and adoptees out there. And I wish to have we can have more sessions like this and more insightful discussions about this in future. So thank you so much. I'm really heartened to see all of you today. Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of moments. The Gangana is joining in as well. Yeah. Hi, the Gangana. So we thought we'll just have like a quick thank you.
really nice. It was really nice. I was crying, literally. मजा होना शाला दीजिए ना मीशा पूछो
Thank you. Great. So we will plan a few more sessions, maybe very active Q&As that we can do going forward, and let's see how that pan.
Absolutely.
Always nice to have these candid conversations and kind of provoke people to think in different ways and in more empathetic ways. So, yeah, that's a great
Amisha and Ahana, if I can do like Insta live with either of you, right from maybe our Insta page, that also will get some younger people comment from. Sure.
Awesome. So thank you, everyone. Once again, thank you, Digangana Sahana, for doing all the connecting work and make this happen. And yeah, I mean, thank you to all of you once again for being there on the panel today. Can you hear me?